Joined now by sports reporters Mark Medina from Essentially Sports and Arash Markazi, founder and CEO of the Sporting Tribune. Welcome to you both. Mark, welcome to the show for the first time. Arash, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pumped.
Arash, big picture, this World Cup, the biggest event in the whole world. Yeah. Pretty exciting to have it back in North America.
Exactly. When they built SoFi Stadium, it was really about like all these big events are finally going to come back to Los Angeles. We remember growing up, the Olympics were here back in the 80s, World Cup in 94. But when they built SoFi Stadium, you know, we knew we were going to get the Super Bowl back here. But really, 2026 World Cup is here, 2028 Summer Olympics are here. So what a great time to be a sports fan here in Los Angeles.
And in between, the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl's coming back. Exactly.
So it's quite a three-year run that we have here. But for U.S. soccer, a big day and some optimism for the U.S.
And
soccer.
it's huge. They got into a favorable group, and that's usually what happens when you're a host country. There tends to be favorable matchups. But when you're looking at that opener against Paraguay, the U.S. has already beaten that team, and historically they've had some good success. They got out of group play in the last World Cup, so I think there's some optimism that they'll be able to do that again.
Yeah, it was quite a moment today with President Trump picking USA, of all things, which was a
what a show.
It seemed like quite a show. The production value was a lot. I know you were frustrated maybe they didn't get to the picks a little faster.
We want to know the draw, and then we have to wait another day for the schedule. But I'm really excited again for USA, their first ever game, as you mentioned. It's going to be here in Los Angeles. If you want to travel, go up to Seattle for game 2, and then they're back here again for their third game.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of action, a lot of focus here, and it'll be fun throughout North America, too. Might be fun to go to Canada and go to Mexico to check them out as well. Mark, let's talk about a team you cover closely, the Los Angeles Clippers. What a week for them. Chris Paul is still technically a member of the team, but he is not with the team. He was sent home because of all this sort of drama. Chris Paul, people that don't follow this that closely, one of the great point guards of all time, who's older in his last year. He's got a big personality. What do you know in terms of your reporting of like what really happened here?
Yeah, well, Lawrence Frank made it clear, the Clippers vice president of basketball operations, that they're not looking to make Chris Paul a scapegoat here because he's played a very marginal role this season because of where he's at in his career. So the Clippers' failure struggles have very little to do with him. But just knowing how Chris Paul is with every step that he's been in his career, he is someone who's very demanding of his teammates, and that can be very well received with a young team or a team that's contending for a championship with him as the primary player. But when you're having a marginal role, I think that the voice and those kind of very direct criticisms don't really land with the same kind of punch.
And because of that, Arash, where does he potentially go? Is there a market for Chris Paul, or does his storied career, end with an Instagram post in the middle of the night?
I really hope not. Again, I really hope that he finds a playoff contender. Again, that is not the Clippers, obviously, this season. So if there is a silver lining here for Chris Paul, maybe he finds himself on a roster at some point this season where he can contend for a championship. But what an embarrassing moment for the Clippers. Can I just say, to send home Chris Paul in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning in Atlanta. Like, you can't figure this out. Like, you can't have, like, again, this is probably the greatest player in franchise history, a franchise that has now retired a jersey. This was supposed to be the first one, and you send him home. There's no adults in the room to say, hey, let's wait till we get back home. Let's do this gracefully. This was such an embarrassing moment for the Clippers. I'm so sorry that Chris Paul had to go through this.
Can you imagine if they actually do try to retire his jersey, how awkward that would be?
Listen, time heals all wounds, but for him and Blake Griffin to kind of, they were smiling and laughing on FaceTime. Like, can you believe this happened?
They put out a picture of them on FaceTime, which was basically a not so subtle way of slamming the franchise. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo, another one of the best players in the NBA, an all-time great player, is apparently considering the possibility of maybe requesting a trade. He loves Milwaukee, but it's clear Milwaukee probably isn't going to get him there in terms of a title. What are you hearing? And is there a realistic way to trade somebody like that?
Well, for what it's worth right now, Bucks coach Doc Rivers emphatically stated that Giannis Antetokounmpo and his representatives have never asked directly for a trade. And so I think the Bucks are of the mind, until they ever get that direct request, they're going to proceed as if that he's content with being with the Bucks. Now, Talking with Marcus Johnson before the season started, he's been one of their longtime Bucks analysts. He was adamant that when you're reading the tea leaves with Giannis, that his messaging has more to do with just trying to put pressure on the front office to continue to upgrade the roster before the trade deadline. He and others in the organization, I still think, are clinging to this belief that Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's very loyal. He has a lot of gratitude for the Bucks drafting him, the fact that they won a championship in 2021. A lot of people in the organization feel very hard-pressed that he would actually make that request and want to leave. But look, things can always change quickly in the NBA, especially when you're a losing team and no longer in that contending mix.
Is there a team you can see that could put together the assets and actually make that happen?
Alex, you know what I'm going to say. It's going to be Los Angeles and the Lakers. But listen, probably not a trade, but it does seem like if Giannis does move, and again, he has talked about maybe New York, but if you're thinking about New York, maybe Los Angeles. And again, if people are saying that is unlikely, that would never happen, what are you talking about? No one thought Luka Doncic was going to get traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Lakers do it? How do they actually pull that off?
Listen, I mean, if it's a trade, it would have to be a big, it would have to be Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect and first-round picks and whatever. Or you could wait for the summer of 26 and say, the summer of 27 and say, okay, let's wait until Giannis is a free agent. Yeah. But listen, it does seem like he wants to either be in Milwaukee, or if he leaves, he wants to go to a big city, either New York or Los Angeles.
Speaking of Los Angeles, LeBron James, his streak ended this week. His streak of 10-point games, which he had since 2007.
Amazing.
It's over. Is that significant? Does that matter? And does that say maybe LeBron finally, Father Time is catching up with him?
I'll go first. I mean, here's the thing. I love the play. He could have continued the streak, but the fact that he passed to Rui Hachimura.
He could have continued the streak if he shot better in the game.
Oh, there we go. Alex with the hot take. I do like that.
Right.
But I like this role for LeBron. If he wants to be on a championship contending team, being that sort of third option, as crazy as that is for LeBron to be a third option, Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. But if LeBron could be the facilitator now and passed to the open man, Rui Hachimura, I like this role for LeBron James.
More Magic Johnson than Michael Jordan. But LeBron is used to being the man, and he's been the man since he was like the chosen one at 14 years old.
Yeah, what's interesting, I was asking LeBron before his return, given his multi-skilled resume, what does he expect his role to be compared to last season? And the thing that he said to me was, I'm a basketball player. I can do everything on the floor. He's always willing to sacrifice, adjust his role, make the right play. That's true, but I think the constant tug and pull throughout LeBron James's career, he's content with not taking the majority of the shots, but he still wants to have his little fingerprints on the offense. But here is where there's some optimism that this could work because it's Luka Doncic. You saw in other seasons with the Lakers that eventually he wanted to control the offense because he would get frustrated with Russell Westbrook or D'Angelo Russell. Luka Doncic, it's a much different stratosphere because he's one of the best players in the NBA, generational star. So there, to be clear, a lot of questions on how this is going to play out long-term from people outside of the Lakers organizations. But internally, they do feel optimistic that LeBron will adjust his role just seamlessly.
And past this season, if LeBron wants to stay, he essentially would have to swap salaries with Austin Reeves in order to keep him there. And it's unclear whether LeBron would be willing to do that.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are hoping at some point they get this retirement announcement from LeBron and it handles itself. Because, listen, I think everyone wants him to retire with the Lakers. Even the Lakers want that to happen. I don't know, Mark, how that works cap-wise if LeBron wants to continue playing.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll take a pay cut. Who knows? Maybe they'll win the title. Then he
That's
can't.
right.
Arash, Mark, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate it.